begrüßen. Ich bin 68.
The most feared.
Das ist schön. Und so, meine Herren und meine Damen, reden wir auf Boxing. Okay, so let's start this off with a promotional video put out by Michaela Meyer. Now, she looks okay. Of course, she looks professional. However, I think that anybody studying Michaela Meyer would have noticed that she does have a flaw, which anybody who has fluidity to their boxing could take advantage of. And if I mention the word fluidity, the opposite of that, what stands in contrast to that, is the rigidity of her movement. There's a certain rigidness. You could probably say she's almost robotic, but not totally, in the way her movements are in the sport of boxing, which suggests that it doesn't come naturally as such to her, even though her mindset is to be offensive. So I think that if a person such as Terry Harper, and should that fight happen, I don't know. And the problem that you probably find with Michaela Meyer is that it's kind of difficult to determine whether she's a boxer or a brawler. And if you've got someone like Hamadouche who's determined to be a brawler, I think that might be a problem for her, because I don't think she's really got that much pressure, attrition, or power. And if you've got a boxer like Terry Harper, and Terry Harper is developing rapidly as a boxer, I'm not sure about her punching power, even though she's working on the strength. I think it really will come down to lungs, to stamina. So we'll see. But what I've seen with Michaela Meyer thus far is something that I probably wasn't taking notice of, but I've just noticed right now, and that is that she's a bit robotic. I'm inclined to contrast Michaela Meyer's video to the person she's always chasing down on social media, Terry Harper. And you can see that Terry Harper tends to concentrate a great deal more on strength, but not only strength, mobility and boxing and footwork.
Put some knees out
And
wide.
I think this is an advantage.
Speed.
And
Good.
this is probably what Michaela Meyer is overlooking when it comes to Terry Harper. I think Terry Harper is actually dealing with the fundamentals at the very core, and not only that, she's taking to it like a fish takes to water. There's a certain fluidity, I use that term again, that you see with Terry Harper that you don't see with Michaela Meyer. So Matchroom posts their card for tonight, live tonight, as they state there. It's going to be hot. It's fight night. Okoli versus Glowacki. You got Fowler Fortier. Scotney versus Gangloff. That's a hell of a name. Billen Smith versus Dukar. Joe Cordina versus Korbanov. Rhea versus Cutler. Ramallah Ali versus Connolly. Now, apart from the undercard, the only other thing that I'm probably going to pay attention to is Anthony Fowler and probably Joe Cordina. I don't know why that slipped. 1 second, yo. All right, so probably Joe Cordina. Let me place that properly. And probably Joe Cordina. However, going back to Okolie versus Glowacki, I think this is a very important fight for Glowacki. Glowacki you cannot sleep on. Okay, Glowacki is extremely dangerous. Who did he beat that surprised when he surprised everybody and beat somebody in cruiserweight before he got absolutely smashed by Usyk? You know what I mean? Nobody was actually expecting him at that time to actually beat the guy then, but he came out on top, and all the sort of white nationalists on YouTube started singing his praise. That's when I got to know that his nickname was El Diablo or something like that. But that's by the by. The reason I'm bringing that up is that Eddie Hearn is very optimistic in the sense that he believes that Okolie is going to get past this very difficult test, a very strong test, a very experienced fighter is going in against. But I think Okolie's style might pull it out. It might not necessarily be to everybody's satisfaction, but I think Okolie has something that unfortunately it might not necessarily appeal to everybody, but it works, and I like it actually, to be honest with you. It is what it is. I don't care. That being said, if he does get past Glowacki, what I saw on YouTube was cause for alarm. He's already trying to put together a fight between Okolie, should he get past Glowacki, to fight Makabu, Ilunga Makabu. Now that's going to be an extremely difficult fight for Okolie, and I'm not particularly certain or sure he's ready for that, but we'll see nevertheless. According to some boxing, Lawrence Okolie plays down heavyweight fight with manager Anthony Joshua because mom would never accept it. But why are people even talking about that right now? Lawrence Okolie hasn't necessarily established himself in the cruiserweight division. I mean, yeah, on the local level, on the domestic level, fair enough. Commonwealth, probably British cruiserweight division. There aren't that many fighters in that division anyway. The biggest fight that we know that he had was against Isaac Chamberlain in Britain, domestic dust-up. Isaac Chamberlain hasn't really been doing too well since then, and should there be a rematch, which I feel some people are talking about, that would be a good fight too, but I don't think that Isaac Chamberlain is ready for that, being that he's been through some traumatic events when he decided to move over to America. But you know what I find is this: why would anybody even want to talk about that? Why would they want to place Okolie against Anthony Joshua? You know what this reminds me of, to be honest with you? I'll be honest with you. It reminds me of when I was very, very young in England, and you would get like these white kids would try to get me to fight my brother for their entertainment. I mean, it did happen once, but I remember I was probably about 5 years old. Okay, we were the two black kids, and I remember that one white kid especially. And let me tell you something. There's one particular white kid, guy, let me call him guy, on YouTube, within this boxing atmosphere, who does the same thing. Whenever there's an argument, whenever there's somebody going against each other, he wants to mediate, he wants to be the arbiter, he wants to be in the middle, he wants to be the moderator, he wants to set it up, he wants to do this. And he very much reminds me of the kind of white guy. So that's why I'm very, very wary of that person. I think many people might be able to put two and two together and know who I'm talking about. But I mean, if you're familiar with such individuals, you know what I'm talking about. But that being said, I've kind of like gone off on a tangent. Going back to this, Lawrence Okolie plays down heavyweight fight with manager Anthony Joshua because mom would never accept it. Well, I suppose it sounds kind of nice if you put it that way, but in all honesty, you should just say, well, fuck off. Well, why are we talking about that anyway? Katie Taylor writes, let's go, May 1st. Or May 1st, let's go, I should say. So, this is the one. Big news. Scott Bivol versus Richards at the bottom, Eubank on a Matchroom card again against Morrison. Yeah, I think that's just the connection that he has with the Solon brothers. Taylor versus Jonas, big fight there. You know, I mean, I think that when it comes to women's boxing nowadays, you look at it, you see a matchup with Matchroom, and you almost anticipating it as much as you anticipate the main card, if you can call it that, which is Chisora versus Parker. Now, the argument that a lot of people are bringing up again is that, oh, you know, the usual argument, is it worth pay-per-view, so on and so forth. I could care less, to be honest. You either buy it or you don't. I suppose on this occasion, this really is where Barry Hearn is quite right. There's no need to get into this silly argument again of like, oh, it's not worth pay-per-view, but you want to watch it, don't you? You know what I mean? If you think it's worth it, pay for it. If it's not, then don't buy it. It is what it is. There's no need to keep on getting into these silly arguments. It's not worth pay-per-view. Don't pay for it then. Most likely you don't have the money anyway. Sky Box Office has got their poster up. So I wonder how much they're going. You know, the talking point is going to be how much are they going to charge? Is it going to be $24.99 or $19.99? I'm guessing all pay-per-views from now on are going to be $24.99. I think it will take, especially a big card like that. I think if you pay $24.99 for that, it's worth it, man. I don't see why people are making a fuss about that. £25 for a big fight like that, for a good fight actually. I mean, it's not a champion. No, well, there's a championship fight underneath on the undercard, if you can call it that. You might call it co-feature with Taylor versus Jonas, and that's a competitive fight. And then you've got this competitive fight, which is hard to predict, as a matter of fact, because it's a hard one to predict. I mean, a lot of people are going to go for Chisora, but I don't see Chisora knocking out Parker. And Parker can box a bit, but what I do like about Parker is his formidable. I think he's understated, but he has probably, in my opinion, in my estimation, one of the best chins in heavyweight boxing. So let's read the two initial quotes coming from the two heavyweights that are going to be fighting, going to face each other May 1st, Chisora versus Parker. Parker, I believe, states the following: I'm excited to start this new chapter of my career. Chisora and I have unfinished business, and one of us will get the job done. I am more than up for the challenge. Bring it on, Del Boy. So let's read what Del Boy has to say. Del Boy states the following: Chisora, after we filmed our face-off, I called Hay and told him this guy isn't going to get in the ring with me. I could see the fear in his eyes. I love fighting. It is what I love the most. Joseph, see you for war on May 1st. Okay? Taylor Jonas put up by MTK Global. You know what I mean? They got their how do you put it? Irons in the fire as well. And speaking of the women's fight between Jonas and Taylor, or Taylor and Jonas, Cecilia Breakers, who lost her rematch against Jessica McCaskill at welterweight, which means she's probably going to retire or make some kind of comeback, I don't know, states that this could be fight of the year between Jonas and Taylor. I suppose there is a backstory to it, I think, from the amateurs or something like that, or maybe just, I don't know, maybe even in professionals, I've forgotten, but there is some sort of backstory to it. What surprises me though is that this is where you probably have to give Eddie Hearn a bit of credit, because if you can recall, he was very adamant that he didn't want to work with Joe Gallagher anymore, and I think Joe Gallagher is actually the trainer of Miss Jonas. That being the case, I think he's got over it, or maybe they've reconciled somehow, because obviously he put the fight with Callum Smith together, and now he's putting Jonas. And Jonas actually was at the center of some of the problems that they were having, because I think Joe Gallagher accused Matchroom and Sky of expressing some form of racial bias against Jonas. and I don't think that Eddie Hearn appreciated that, and he said he wasn't willing to work with her, but work with anybody who worked with Joe Gallagher. But if she's still Joe Gallagher, then that means they've got over their problems. And in all honesty, for the most part, I think that Eddie Hearn puts finances and business first and puts his ego, of course, second, which is not something you get with a lot of promoters. I've noticed that, particularly Bob Arum and Frank Warren. So Artur Beterbiev is fighting tonight, I believe. Russia is fighting some guy from Germany. You know what I mean? Let's see some more to do with the tape. Let's see some more to do with that. Age 36. The guy from Germany is 30. You know, Artur Beterbiev is in his advanced years, to be honest with you. And there's a good chance that he's actually lying. There's a part of me that wants Artur Beterbiev to lose, even though he hasn't had that many fights. Have they stated how many fights he's got here? They don't put it. They haven't put it on. I'll probably have it somewhere, but I think it's in the range of 14 or something like that. He's 36 years old with 14 fights. It's like a female boxer. So there's a part of me that wants me to see him lose. That wants me to see him lose that belt and lose badly. Because honestly, he's a very hard guy, but he's got a dodgy chin. He's got a very dodgy chin, and somebody can whack him one, like Callum Johnson did, and take advantage of it with experience. They could embarrass him, and it's not because I want to see him fall on his face. I'm just thinking, like, you know what, man, there's too much drama with Beterbiev, to keep it real with you. I'm not fighting here because I'm protesting this and that, which is fair enough, noble cause, but it takes ages before any of his fights come around, and when they do come around, they make it seem as if he's some sort of Superman. The guy doesn't fight enough. It is what it is. It's going to take an eternity if Artur Beterbiev is there and he's allowed to hold on to those two belts before any form of unification at that, undisputed, not just unification, can take place at light heavyweight. That's just my opinion. So according to ESPN Ringside, Jermall Charlo promises to knock out David Benavidez if they fight. His quote is stating the following: "Yeah, let's make that David Benavidez fight. I'm going to knock his little punk ass out. I promise that. I put that on everything I love, Jermall Charlo." We'll get into that. Alright, okay, so this channel here, Boxier de Campiones, I'm guessing that's how they say it. Forgive me, I read Spanish rather badly. They put up something with David Benavidez, and David Benavidez says, "I want to fight Jermall Charlo or rematch with Darrell. I just want to stay active." My thing is this, is that once you start taking pictures of David Benavidez and you allow him to hold the WBC belt as if he still has it, as if he didn't lose it with ignominy, you encourage and enable what he's saying and encouraging simply because of the direction he's choosing to go in. And I think there's a certain bias there, which has always been obvious, what people won't point to. And I see that in the way that people are going after Jermall Charlo on behalf of this ridiculous individual by the name of David Benavidez. Now, David Benavidez had a problem with Kelly Plant, a running problem with Kelly Plant for ages, and nobody was coming out in support of David Benavidez at that time. Okay, nobody was said like, "Oh yeah, Kelly Plant, you a coward." You know what? The only thing is, because they offered Kelly Plant a fight with CANELO and he turned it down because he simply didn't believe that he had enough time to train for it, and I support that, even though some people, "Oh, you're not a champion." No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree if Canelo is allowed to actually have everything his way, the least you could do is give a person the opportunity to train properly for the fight, if they so choose. You know what I mean? I think the standard convention is 2 months, or well, at least six to 8 weeks. Giving people 5 weeks and 4 weeks is uncalled for and unnecessary, and an absolute total disgrace. Okay, you know what I'm saying? So that's by the by. Not to talk of, you see, while they're doing while they're doing these things, they still have to do promotion to get the fight to sell. You have to take time out, fly all over the place, do presses and stuff, because you're fighting a big fight with somebody like Canelo Alvarez, and then he's going to cut your time short. He's going to weaken you with all that other nonsense, the press constantly on you because you're fighting him. You can't train in peace, and that's supposed to be okay. It's not okay. All right, and I support Caleb Plant, and I'm bringing up Caleb Plant for the mere fact that Caleb Plant had a problem with Benavidez. None of these Johnny Come Lately supporters of Benavidez, wherever they may come from, okay, said anything back then. But when it comes to Charlo now, and what would motivate Charlo? What would inspire Charlo to want to go up to 168 and fight a guy? Okay, and here's the thing. There's a saying that you take from Oscar Wilde's book. I believe it's called The Importance of Being Earnest. Don't quote me on that. It could be a different book, but I think it's that book. And there's a quote that people bring up, which is to suggest that to lose one parent is misfortune. To lose two is carelessness. You could apply the same analogy, forgive me, the same quote. You could apply the same quote and make an analogy to David Benavidez. David Benavidez, to lose the belt once is probably misfortune, even though you did cocaine. To lose it twice, despite the fact they called yourself a champion. And what was so ironic about that was just after he decided to troll other people within that division by sitting on a throne with this one belt and having all the other people bow down to him. It was an artist's impression of him doing that. And then he lost the damn belt on the scales. Okay, lost the damn belt on the scales, and now he's fluffing about saying that this one doesn't want to fight him, this one doesn't want to fight him, and calling out and attacking Jermall Charlo. And you've got people telling you, oh, go fight Jermall Charlo, because it is in their interest for Jermall Charlo to be occupied and stay away somehow, in the hope that Benavidez beats Charlo and he was never worthy, he could never fight Canelo anyway. So we know what kind of politics is being played there. It's bullshit, and Charlo shouldn't even go for it. I think the sad thing is Charlo's actually decided to entertain it. He should just be headstrong about it and say, the guy should go fuck himself. The guy's irresponsible. He doesn't actually deserve a big fight. What does it bring? Is there like a pay-per-view that Benavidez has done that I don't know about? Is there like some large crowd that he brings that I don't know about? Okay, the only thing that he has to his benefit, that he beat Darrell, will probably be some black fighters, and you know what, that always gets a particular group of people horny, and they're hoping that he can add Jermall Charlo to that list. Of course, it's an advantage in any case, being that he is a 168 and Jermall Charlo's never fought at that weight class. Why can't Jermall Charlo fight like Rocky Fielding first? Or probably 3 Rocky Fieldings or something like that before he fights Benavidez, who is a career super middleweight. Absolute nonsense. Alright, so Teofimo Lopez promoting heavy. This is probably going to be this is a picture taken on the set of this promotional video he's made. Can't wait to see it, really. I think it's going to be rather generic, but nevertheless, he's at least putting effort into himself. This truly is, by definition, a man betting on himself, and I suppose you're supposed to give him credit for that if he truly believes in himself. But sometimes people have misplaced belief. It doesn't necessarily mean simply because you bet on yourself that you're always going to win. I hope that he does well, but I do not feel that simply because he bets on himself that he can thumb his nose at everybody else who might not necessarily do it his way. And that's the problem I have with Teofimo Lopez, and this trait of his to always be preachy all of a sudden. despite the limited amount of experience that he has in boxing. So here he says at the bottom of this, once you begin the hunt, you will always feel the thirst. And I just find that very hard to sort of not combine, but I find it easy to comprehend, but I've forgotten the word that you used, to sort of reconcile that with his attitude towards many people within the same division that he's in right now, based upon the fact that he beat Lomachenko. Okay. Ebony Bridges posts the Sky Sports poster, DAZN Matchroom for the 10th of April, return of Savannah Marshall, who's going to be fighting some lady called Hermans. Isn't she Argentine or something like that? I can't remember. But obviously, the fight that a lot of the blokes are going to go in for is Shannon versus Ebony Bridges. You're gonna hear a lot of "get your tits out" love when it comes to that, which is not necessarily appropriate. But at the end of the day, I think when you have those type of women, those sort of pouting, posing type of women fighting, you're going to attract a particular audience, and I think Ebony Bridges welcomes that. I'm not so certain about Shannon Courtney, but hey, it's by the by. I think we'll get to see what Ebony Bridges is about anyway, because I think at this moment, even though Shannon Courtney hasn't had that much experience, she's still got more experience, even experience of losing, even more experience, more experience than Ebony Bridges, who tends to be very judgmental of other boxers. I saw her once, and this is when I started taking issue with her, when she was passing judgment on Joseph Parker's fight. And I thought to myself, I mean, this is even before the last one that he had, which was supposedly against Junior Farr, whatever his name was. And I thought to myself, how many fights have you had? You used to be a bodybuilder and a maths teacher, and all of a sudden you're a boxing expert. You see what happens? It is what it is. I'm eager to see how she performs against Shannon Courtney, whether it's worth it, whether she really is, as good as she thinks she is. But on the other hand, though, Savannah Marshall is good. I am not so certain, though, that she can beat Claressa Shields. I think Claressa Shields just might be able to pull it off via physical strength. Okay, I think boxing-wise, I'm not sure. I'm not so certain. Auf Wiedersehen.